The Champions League action for game week 13 is almost wrapped up, which means that we can really start turning our attention to what lies ahead this weekend. And the biggest conundrum on most folks' minds is whether to free hit, like a lot of the cartel are talking about on their channels, or whether to triple captain, or whether to do a D-Unit and do neither, and just actually make transfers like good old-fashioned in every other single game week. So today's transfer tips is going to look a little bit different. I've added a few new sections in here as well, because obviously I covered the free hit draft and the wildcard draft yesterday, so that is not going to be in this video. So if you're looking for one of them, that is not normally, it's normally in this section and this video, but it's not. So FYI, this is transfer tips. I've got some new sections in here. There's some ultimate differentials, and we've also got my top 5. This has also been requested on the channel. Top 5 buys and top 5 sells for the game week, as well as all the other moves that are happening in and around everywhere. So if you enjoy this content, make sure you drop a like on the video. Leave us a comment with moves that you're making or whether you're just free hitting and hoping for the best. And if you haven't already, please consider smashing that subscribe button. With that being said, ladies and gents, let's get into it. So straight into covering the UCL notes from what we've seen midweek. And look, a lot of stuff has happened. And we'll start with Newcastle. So Newcastle obviously went away to Olympique Marseille. They lost 2-1 here. And the biggest news here was that Voltemata was benched and Eddie Howe deployed a back 5, which he has done in the Premier League. And I'm not convinced that he won't do it again on the weekend. Now, Lewis Hall was benched in this game. He came on for Livramento in the second half. Dan Burn started at centre-back as one of the back 3. So he just is straight back in as soon as obviously he was available to Eddie Howe. He just put him straight back in. And I'd imagine that in the Premier League this weekend, we will see Dan Burn return to the lineup. So the biggest news here, though, according to Nightmare, is that maybe Pope his days could be numbered. Maybe Ramsdale might get a start because, again, he was at error, particularly for the first goal for Aubameyang. Can't even believe he's still kicking around in Europe, but he took full advantage of Pope's error, and he was a lot of the reason why Newcastle didn't actually get a decent thing here. The other thing to note was that Barnes obviously scored yet again, continuing that hot streak I talked about in the video yesterday, and I would imagine he's probably going to continue it again against Everton as well, if I was looking to a crystal ball. And Gordon played up front, which that was interesting. But yeah, Man City completely rotated the entire team except Gonzalez. Gonzalez was the only one that was unlucky to not get a rest. He started this debacle. And Leverkusen also had 2 of their better players ruled out, and they also heavily rotated, but they won. They won 2-0. I think, and Pep came out after the game and basically said that, that he probably won't do that, probably won't give the fringe players as much of a game time moving forward. But Pep's been known to do these kind of things now and again, and normally they don't work, and I don't think we're going to see him. But it has increased, obviously, the likelihood of all the players that we are looking at from Man City, particularly for all those people that are on free hit, they're probably all going to start because the team that he played against Leverkusen did absolutely nothing to warrant them starting again this weekend against Leeds, and that's the bare facts of that. So it might have actually done us a favour, and we'll have to wait and see if it actually does or not. So Chelsea, they won 3-0 thanks to Barcelona. I don't know what Hansi Flick's doing with their defensive line, but it was all over the shop. Chelsea took full advantage of it, took full advantage of the fact that Barcelona let them play. Arsenal will be a much tougher trip on the weekend. And I think they were kind of lucky that they played Barcelona with 10 men. Like, Barcelona had 10 men because obviously Jules Koundé got himself sent off. I mean, yeah, they kind of made it easy. The big things to note here is that Reece James started in centre midfield. Gusto started at right back. João Pedro stayed on the bench the entire game. So does that mean he plays against Arsenal? I think so. What's going on there? Which just seemed a bit odd. Liam Delap started on the bench, came on and scored. Pedro Neto actually started up top. Estavio and Garnacho both started this game after being completely rested on the weekend. So God knows what lineup's going to come out against Arsenal. And this kind of just backed up the idea that I can't predict what Enzo Maresca's doing, which is kind of why I want to just get rid of Chelsea assets and why have few of them appear on my most sells this week. Now, Arsenal rotated Calafiori as is predicted. If you own Calafiori will start this weekend and he'll be benched midweek. I put money on it right now. If you're an owner of Calafiori, you will want to bench him or move him prior to game week 14. That dude has not played midweek football for about 2 months now. I think since the very first Champions League match day, he has been benched in every other single match in midweek. And I think he's likely to stay on the bench again next week as well. But he'll be fine for the weekend. Hincapié also was rotated out. Trossard was withdrawn with a precaution. Arteta basically said he should be fine, but he got taken off. Lots of people speculating that it was an injury, but based off Arteta's comments, it was more of a precaution. They obviously won 3-1, and ironically, this always happens. Saka gets an assist, Timber gets a goal. You can guarantee on the weekend that's not going to happen, but they would deserve winners there against Bayern Munich. The Liverpool shambles, I mean, I've been calling it for a while. They've now lost 9 of their last 12 games. Let that sink in. That is their worst run of form since Winston Churchill was Prime Minister of the United Kingdom back in 1955, I believe. There's a little bit of trivia for you. So make sure you tell a Liverpool fan that stat today, because I'm sure they'll be very pleased with you if you do tell them. I've been crowing about it in the group. I was like, at least Man United are doing me the favour this week, of this season, of just not ruining my midweek run of working things. They're just ruining my weekend. In this case, ruining my Monday night. But Liverpool fans, I don't think it's going to get any easier. I think West Ham are going to be licking their chops. Callum Wilson could be on for a hat-trick this weekend. And I think all those people that have pressed the free hit button or wildcard button, you're probably just avoiding Liverpool completely now. They just look like a broken team. Slot looks clueless. He looks like Erik ten Hag did. Maybe he's morphed than Erik ten Hag. Second season, Dutch managers just seem to absolutely crumble in the Premier League. And maybe he just got completely lucky last year, because it's just looking no good. FYI, they did score a goal in here, and it was Szoboszlai that scored it, and he did play this game in the number 10 position, which was interesting to note. And obviously Curtis Jones played it right back, so a lot of people might have been wondering what happened there. He did score, which means inevitably Szoboszlai will not score or get a return this weekend against West Ham. You can almost lock it in. And then lastly, Spurs scored a lot of goals, but they conceded even more. A 5-3 thriller against PSG. I mean, I'm legitimately shocked that Spurs managed to score 3 goals. Again, they set up in a completely different system to what they did against Arsenal. Frank is obviously trying a few different ideas. Again, that didn't come off and it didn't stick. Will Fulham be able to take full advantage on the weekend? I mean, the pigeon strike happened again. He scored again. The koala bear got 2 goals. That was nice. But then other players like Kudos were benched. So I don't really know what's going on with Spurs either. And it's another team I think that if you have if you want to take my advice, I'd be getting rid of your assets that start with a Spurs next to them. So game week 13 now, your transfer questions. Now, there's been a few interesting questions this week, and this one's brilliant. So this one I saw today, lots of people speculating that Trossard was injured in the UCL. Based off what I can find out, and maybe people in the comments can let me know if I'm completely wrong, I don't think he actually got injured. I think, potentially, he just came off as a precaution. You've got to take Arteta on his word. I didn't actually watch the game, so I don't actually know. And people asking if Eze is a legitimate option. I don't think he is. I mean, look who came off the bench for Arsenal last night. Madueke scored. Martinelli scored. They are still going to be losing minutes. Last night, what did I say? That Saka will lose minutes to Madueke and that. What happened? Saka gets taken off after just over an hour. And that pretty much changed the game. So Arteta is not afraid of taking those players off, which I think is something that you're going to have to factor in if you're going to look to invest in Arsenal attack moving forward, is that a lot of those players they're not going to be playing as many minutes as you think they're going to be playing. And they have a really deep squad. All you had to do was look at Arsenal's bench last night, and you can tell that they're probably going to win something this year. With the depth that they've got on the bench, and they're just playing so well, and they're just making a mockery of everyone. The Arsenal going to Chelsea on the weekend is going to be a very fascinating game to see how that one goes. What to do with Semenyo? I sold him. So if you want my advice, I'd sell him, but that's just me. I actually don't think he's a priority sell, because I think the next 2 weeks might actually be okay for him. But he's dropping in price super quick as people just abandon ship. And that's why I sold him, because he was going to drop in price and affect my selling point. So I said, show him the door, because that was what I was going to do in a couple of weeks' time anyway. So I've just brought it forward and bought in an asset I think that hopefully might rise if he starts banging. Now, this one's an interesting one, and all I will refer back to is if you listen to my transfer tips last week, I said don't buy Liverpool players. Can you sell them if you bought them last week? 100% you can. They look like rubbish at the moment, and their assets probably deserve to be in the bin. Like so many people bought in Virgil van Dijk last week. Off what? I still, to this day, do not know why anyone bought Virgil van Dijk last week. When you could have literally, and I bag him out all the time on this channel, you could literally have bought the exact same player in Joachim Anderson for 1.5 million less. That's the extent of it. You've wasted 1.5 million buying a player that's not going to keep a clean sheet, that plays for arguably one of the worst teams in the league at the moment. They've literally got relegation form. Let's not beat the bush around it. Liverpool are free falling, and as bad as it is for their fans, it's bloody brilliant for people like me that are Man United fans, because it's great to see them imploding and calling for Slot out after he won the league just not that long ago. So that's exciting. And then the next one, should you free hit or triple captain? Now, you can literally free hit in any single week. Unless there's an act of God or a weather event that causes a postponement or whatever, free hit is just, you can literally pick a free hit draft in any single week and it could absolutely bang more than your team. But at the same time, it could also backfire and score way less points in your team on any given week. And I think game week 13's a very interesting week, because I feel like a lot of people that are free hitting this week are doing so to get rid of Arsenal assets, to get rid of Chelsea assets, to get rid of United assets, to get rid of Palace assets, and to invest in teams like Villa, Brentford, Man City, and Liverpool. Liverpool are in worse form than any other team I've just mentioned then. I do not know why you would actually free hit to bring any Liverpool players in, unless you're just hoping for a miracle, which I can't see happening at the moment. Then Villa are playing a Midlands derby, like against Wolves. I know Wolves have been rubbish, but there is every chance that Wolves actually show up and score a goal, and all of a sudden the defensive assets you bank your points on don't do any good, and they only win by a goal. Remember, Villa play in the UEFA League, UEFA CON, no, not the conference, the Europa League tonight. I always get those two confused because they used to be the UEFA Cup. That was much easier to pronounce. But yeah. And then obviously you got Palace versus United. Now, Palace are going to quite possibly be a bit tired, but they defend very well post-Europe. All you have to do is look at their results post-Europe, and they do defend very well. They keep a lot of clean sheets. And Arsenal's defence is next level brilliant. There is a world where Chelsea versus Arsenal is 0-0. And then all of a sudden, all these people have sold their assets on free hit, completely ignoring those teams. All of a sudden, those teams just go really well, and all the assets that other people have held on to all bang. Like, it could easily backfire this week. So I think for this week in particular, I actually prefer the triple captain more than a free hit. Unless your team is an absolute basket case, you got like 10 yellow flag players or something like that. I think it makes more sense to do triple captain this week. And there are, obviously, Erling Haaland's got Leeds, and Leeds have been rubbish away from home. They've conceded 5 goals, I think, once, and they've definitely conceded a number of goals away from home compared to at home. And like Man City just rested their entire team midweek. So what other better week to play it? Are United players to sell after the Everton debacle? It does depend on whether Cunha is out. If we find out on Friday that Cunha is going to be missing a few weeks, and so is Šeško, I'd actually look at just selling all United assets, because I do not think that if they play Joshua Zirkzee up top again, they're going to be scoring many goals. That dude is a liability. And I think it's very dependent on whether Cunha is fit and available, whether they're good buys or good sells or holds or whatever. And last question that I found quite interesting, should you triple up on Pep Roulette? I mean, my aim is to triple up on Pep Roulette, and I'm hoping for the best. And I think the best thing that could have happened was that result in the Champions League midweek, because I reckon now he might not do anywhere near as much roulette as we've been used to seeing. And for most of this season, he's actually had a fairly settled lineup. So maybe this is Pep changing. Maybe it's Pep changing, and maybe we can just take a bit of a gamble. So on to the defensive transfers in this week, and this is what Munoz leads the way. I mean, that 14-pointer, that's generally what happens. And it's not a surprise that there's 3 Palace players in the top 7 transferred in. So Munoz is at number 1, Lacroix at number 4, and Gahey at number 5. Now, I don't think you can go wrong. I actually don't think you can go wrong with buying a Palace asset. They've kept the second most clean sheets behind Arsenal. They're consistently getting attacking returns. Lacroix's now had 2 assists on the season. Gahey and Munoz have obviously scored multiple goals, multiple assists there as well. They've got so many routes to points and they're just defending really well. So why not go double Palace defence? Then you got Jurrien Timber. I don't mind it. I think that he is actually the best Arsenal defender you can have until Gabriel comes back fit and available and has played at least 1 game. I don't mind it. Then we've got the City players. So we've got O'Reilly and Ruben. So O'Reilly, I don't mind. I think he's actually going to be really good. And I think he's old-fashioned in terms of you're picking him. You're not picking any City defender for the DC, which is why I don't understand why people are buying Ruben other than the fact he obviously scored against Newcastle. He's not going to be doing that. O'Reilly's got way better goal threat. All you have to do is look at the underlying stats for him and you know that he's capable of doing it. So I don't mind O'Reilly. I would have been more thrilled if Ruben had been VIRGIL or Mateus Nunes. I think they're way better options to buy than Ruben Dias. That's just my opinion. Then we've got Mickey van der Ven. Now, I don't know why people are buying Mickey van der Ven. Why is he the 5th most transferred in player? I actually wouldn't be able to tell you why, because it just makes no sense to me. I mean, Spurs just conceded 4 goals to Arsenal. They've just conceded 5 to PSG, and you're buying a Spurs defender. I actually don't know what to say. Are people dumb? Like, I don't mean that figure, like, I don't mean that, like, as in people, maybe you are. I don't know, but no one's dumb. But that's just a not intelligent decision. Like, a completely non-intelligent decision. I don't understand it. I don't get it. And it's not a good move. Cue the hat-trick. No. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Then he's the 6th most transferred out. I mean, I understand Pedro Porro and Mickey van der Ven being sold in the masses. They're quite highly owned defenders. And Spurs have been rubbish defensively. So it makes sense to sell him. I just don't know why he is the 5th most bought-in defender. That actually makes no sense. Now, Calafiori, lots of people might be ditching him because of the fact that we are concerned about that midweek game coming up, or they could just be people on free hit. There is every chance that Calafiori, James, Pedro Porro, Van der Ven, Senesi, Gabriel are all being transferred out because people are on free hit for the week, and then they'll all come back in. I don't know, but it is hard to tell, but I would suggest that that's possibly quite relevant. In terms of Gabriel, he's obviously dropped down to 6.4 million now. There is a world where he's back soon. There's been conflicting reports about that. I think that some people might be free hitting this week in order to see if he is back after this weekend. But I still think he's a sell. I think he'll drop in price again, which means it will probably affect a lot of other people's selling prices. Virgil van Dijk, it's not a surprise. That is not a free hit move out. That's just a bloke that is placed for one of the worst defences in the league. That makes perfect sense. Reece James as well. You just can't trust the minutes, so that is a very good transfer out as well. Spurs, as I've talked about, rubbish defence, so I don't know why I'd keep him. And then Senesi. I'm actively looking at trying to get rid of Senesi over the next couple of weeks as well. Probably, again, for another Palace defender because they're just getting the business done. And Senesi and Bournemouth have really gone off the boil of late, and that is concerning. And he's also on 4 yellow cards, which is also something that is relatively concerning. FYI, Munoz is also on 4 yellow cards, so there is a chance that he misses a game over the coming weeks and one of those nicer ones. Ideally, he doesn't get the yellow card against United, he doesn't get it against Burnley, and then he gets it in 15, so he misses 16, which is when I intend on free hitting. That's the ideal scenario. He probably gets booked against Man United this week and misses Burnley, if I had to be honest. So on to the midfield transfers now, and this one I don't agree with. Eze should not be the top transferred in player. This is the definition of chasing points. 20 points last weekend, yet congratulations if you got him. You're not getting him this week. They've got Chelsea, and there's no way he's scoring a hat-trick against Chelsea at all. I do not think he even scores this week. So, look, a lot of people are going to be disappointed there. It's going to be the curse of the most transferred in again, and it's going to be an easy curse because it makes no sense why people are buying him And the minutes are going to be coming down. Nodegaard was on the bench in the Champions League. Obviously, Madueke, Martinelli, they all need minutes, which means none of them are playing 90. That's what it comes down to, unless you are Saka, I would have said normally, but not even he's getting 90. So, I don't know. A lot of people points chasing there. I don't like that move at all. Minte, I really love. He's great. This is not an example of points chasing. He's not in Europe. His minutes are guaranteed. He continuously is getting the returns. Great transfer in. Nothing bad to say there. Morgan Rogers, I don't mind it. Obviously, he banged last week, and you could argue this is a case of points chasing. When you've got Wolves at home and then a couple of easy fixtures over the next 4 to 5 weeks, I don't mind it. You're not playing him every week. He is at a bit of a weird price point that makes it a little bit difficult, but I don't mind the transfer. Mbumo, I wouldn't be buying. It's now game week 13. There's every chance he leaves in 16 or 17. You're buying him for 3 weeks. It's a 3-week punt. Crystal Palace away is, I wouldn't say, a very good fixture for Mbumo based on what we saw on Monday night. I would understand it more if it was a 14 and 15 punt, but for this week, I don't get it. Doku, don't mind it. Lots of people just looking for a bit of points gain here, and I don't mind it. And the fact that he started on the bench in the Champions League probably suggests his minutes will be good this weekend. Rice, still the best Arsenal midfielder by some distance. I know that he didn't get the 20 points that Eze did, but again, he got a return, and that's what he's doing. He's consistently ticking over every single week, which is what you want from an asset. Neto, I wouldn't be buying him before Arsenal. Don't know why he's on the buying list, but yeah, that one doesn't make sense. Not a surprise, Semenyo, the most sold midfielder in the game. I've obviously sold him myself, and we still don't know what's going on with him. We're going to be waiting for Areola's press conference to find out. I would imagine he's fine, but I thought he was going to be fine last week, and then he just didn't show up, so I don't want to say that with any great confidence. Then Caicedo, I mean, this is probably people frustrated that he didn't play last weekend, and I still don't understand why you would have bought Caicedo in the first place. Elliot Anderson doing just as good of a job with better underlying numbers and costs 0.8 million less. No, 0.8 million less. No brainer. Kudos, Reinders. I mean, the early season form is completely gone, along with Gakpo and Mo Salah, to be fair. All 4 of them, I completely understand. They might have easy fixtures on paper, but in terms of Reinders, he's now a problem in terms of minutes. I'd suggest post the Champions League, he's probably going to be on the bench again. Kudos, I mean, Spurs, they're an enigma. Spurs and Fulham are the teams that are enigmas, which is why I think they're crap. You never know what you're going to get. And that seems to be the case with Spurs at the moment. So God knows what they'll produce on the weekend. And then Jackie Grealish. Yeah, I think that he's been a little unlucky, but the points have dried up. So I don't mind it. And Everton's fixtures aren't overly the best from an attacking perspective for the foreseeable future. They only got the 1 goal against United. Obviously, they only had 10 men. But Newcastle at home, I don't know how easy of a game that's going to be for Everton either. And on the forward transfers for this weekend, it's almost an identical order to last week in terms of the players being bought in. So Thiago is by far and away the best bought forward this week. And it's not a surprise. Burnley at home is a very delicious fixture. Danny Welbeck also coming in at number 2. That one is not a surprise either. I actually think that the best 3 forwards at the moment are probably Thiago, Welbeck and Haaland. They are probably the best 3 forwards you can have in the league. They are in form. They're returning almost every single week. There's not really anything negative to say except Welbeck is 34, and I don't know if he starts all 3 games. I don't think he starts 13, 14 and 15. He might, but I wouldn't expect him to play 90 minutes in all 3 of those weeks. All 3 of those games. Voltemata. Don't understand why people are buying him. It's my honest answer. I don't understand why people are buying him. They've got Everton away. Yes, the fixtures are a little bit better for Newcastle, but why would you buy him when you can buy Welbeck and Thiago for less and bank the money? But maybe it's Newcastle fans. I'm not sure. He didn't even do anything on the weekend. I know he should have scored against Man City, but he didn't. I don't understand why he's the 3rd most bought in forward. Haaland, I still can't believe he's featuring in the top. How have people not just already bought him? But must be people free hitting maybe. I don't know. If you haven't bought him, just buy him. I mean, he's going to get to 15 mil at some point pretty soon. Mateta, I mean, Mateta and João Pedro, they're the first and second most sold players as well. And then they're the 5th and 6th most bought. I actually think that João Pedro case, easy sell. I wouldn't be buying him, not with Arsenal away. Arsenal at home, sorry. And then Mateta, This is a tough one because Mateta keeps on missing big chances and he should have more points than he's got. I don't think he's in amazing form. And I actively think that having Thiago and Welbeck and Haaland is the best front three you can have. Maybe he does better in some of the fixtures coming up, but the fact that he got subbed at 59 minutes for Nketiah, I was getting confused with Ekitike and Nketiah then, that's concerning. And I think we'll see more of that, particularly with the pile-up of fixtures they've got. So I don't mind moving him out the door, to be honest. So I can understand why people are transferring out. Obviously, a lot of people on free hit probably have Mateta and João Pedro as well, and that's probably also why they're so highly sold this week, whereas Haaland is not. Then Callum Wilson. I love this transfer in. Obviously, some people watch the differential video and are taking a punt. Why not buy the forward that is red hot in form, playing one of the worst defences in the league at the moment? Liverpool have now conceded back-to-back 3 goals in a game. Like, if there's a team to target, it's Liverpool, especially when they're away from home. I don't mind it at all, which is probably why Ekitike is one of the most sold assets this week. Also, he actually went off for the Champions League with a back, a tight back or something like this. So maybe his axe of play, I wouldn't be going there because I don't think Liverpool are a team to target at all. As I said, Voltemade, I don't understand why he was in the bought column. I'd have him more in the sell. Ditto Gyökeres, people still got him. Yeah, easy sell at this point. Jared Bowen, I wouldn't be selling before Liverpool. There's every chance. Jared Bowen loves a Liverpool game. And Liverpool are in rubbish form. And if Kirkes starts against Jared Bowen's going to rinse the absolute hell out of him. And then Šeško, obviously, he's going to be out for a little while, so he's an easy sell. So that one also makes a fair bit of sense. So on to the differential gurus, and there's obviously 6 of us with the Pubcast co-host league. So unfortunately for myself, Trig, and Kanji, we got 0 points from our differentials last week. Garnacho and Estevao did nothing. They didn't even make it off the bench. They just got rested and completely Maresca-related. And then Cunha, we still don't know what really happened. Whether he got knocked out, whether he got an illness, what was going on, but some sort of a head injury or something, and he didn't show up either. So we automatically all finished equal third because our players just didn't show up. Now, Gary got exceptionally lucky because we literally picked Minte for him and he got 11 points, which means he's got 1 10 plus haul. He's obviously leading the way across the start of the season, and then obviously he's got the weekly rank of first amongst all of us because no one else got close. Then Nightmare, he picked Ahmad who got 2 points, and Roberto picked McAllister who also got 2 points. And yeah, but look, keep your eyes out. We're going to be putting this on the late mail on Friday. Timu Jesus, FYI, is joining me live in the late mail this week in the studio. I'm going to have to revamp the stream layout to fit him in. So that's going to be something. Make sure you keep your eyes out for that and make sure you don't miss it because it's going to be epic. He's going to be on the beers and he's going to be lit, folks. So on to the differentials from the past Pubcast that are under 5% when I put this together. So I put this together on Tuesday. I think Phil Foden might actually be over 5% now, but at the time of when I put this together, he was 4.9. So I had to pick my boy up. And I think Phil Foden will bang and I think he'll be great. So I don't mind him at all. He's been dodging points, though. Has to be said, he's been dodging points. He's only been averaging 3.3 points per game. So that is not ideal, but Leeds at home should be a very good fixture. I wouldn't be surprised if he got an absolute mega haul here and actually beat Haaland captain. I am tempted. I won't lie. The longer it's gone in the week, and now that he's back in the team, I'm almost... there's something compelling me to do it, and I don't know what it is, but I'm very tempted by it. Then we'll go with Kanji's pick. He went for the 0.7% picked Van Den Berg at 4.5 million. He's obviously got the Burnley at home fixture now. I quite like this pick, which is why I brought him into my team last week. And these are the 2 players I own in my own team. If they bang, I'll be very, very happy. But essentially, Burnley concede a lot of goals off corners and off headers. And I just fancy, I know he's only scored 2 goals in his entire career, but when you're buying a defender, it's with just a little bit of hope. And this is the little bit of hope. Hopefully they can keep Burnley out. Hopefully Sepp Van Den Berg can get me a headed goal. That would be very sexy. And a 17-pointer just to rub it in to everyone else. That'd be nice. And hopefully Foden can beat him so that way I actually win this this week. Then Kevin Shard, that's who Gary's gone with. He was very quick to pick Kevin Shard. Apparently, he's very highly rated in Gary Review, FPL Review that Gary uses. I believe he comes in at third this week for expected points based on the inputs that Gary put in. So not a surprise that Gary followed Review like the blind sheep that he is. Then on to Trig. Trig went with Odango. And I don't mind this one because they're playing Burnley, and believe it or not, when they play the easier teams and he starts on the field, he has better goal threat than Kevin Shard. As you can see there, 0.34 to 0.28 of Kevin Shard's. So I actually think Dango could go absolutely bang, bang, bang. So we'll have to wait and see. Then Nightmare's gone with O'Reilly from Manchester City, 4.3% ownership there. As I said his stats are really good, 0.11 expected goals, 0.1 expected assists. So I don't mind that as a shout. And he's actually averaging the most amount of points out of all these assets this week, like across the season. So he's averaging 4.7 points per game, O'Reilly. And he's even had a couple of sub appearances in there. So that just goes to show how good of an asset he's actually been and why he should be really good. Definitely post 16 when obviously 8 Nori goes away, but I imagine he'll be very good in the meantime as well anyway. And then we got Raul Jimenez, a bit of an out there pick, but he is playing a Spurs team that have conceded 4 goals to Arsenal, 5 to PSG, and Fulham go to town. You can guarantee if Fulham score, Raul Jimenez is going to be involved. So I don't mind it. And Roberto the Ghost was back on the Pubcast last night, and I quite liked his argument. Yes, he's going at the least amount of points per game average, but there's every chance that Raul Jimenez bangs against a Spurs team that are tired, that their defence has conceded 9 goals this week already. Every chance that Raul Jimenez goes bang, 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 and happy days. Now, on to my 5 top players to sell this week. And I know this is going to sound a little controversial because I know that Crystal Palace have really good fixtures coming up. But a lot of them are away from home. So Burnley is away from home. And I can't remember the other one that's off the top of my head. West Ham or something like that. They've got some really good fixtures, but most of them are away from home. And I just think that the tiredness and the accumulation of fixtures, of minutes, is going to diminish their attacking output. I don't mind their defensive assets. I think they're actually really good buys this week. But I just think that, I don't know. I've seen Sarah Mateta, and I feel like I've got it wrong. I feel like I could have gone with the double Brighton, like attack double up of Minte and Welbeck, and I would have been far better off than going for Sarah Mateta. Now, they might prove me wrong on the weekend, but I don't mind them. And I think that the people I'm going to suggest to sell are the higher owned assets in the game. I'm not going to tell you to sell like someone that's owned by less than 1% of the comp. That's just not what this section's about. Then I've gone with Virgil van Dijk. But he's over 20% owned, and he plays for a team that does not know how to keep a clean sheet. Like his ceiling at the moment is probably 3 points. Like, for 6 million, you want more than a ceiling of 3 points, particularly in defence. So for that reason, he's just an easy sell. And I think he probably is in the top 5 to sell players. He reminds me of Trent Alexander-Arnold last season when I said that he was rubbish and just sell him because he's going to do nothing. He's no clean sheets and the attacking returns aren't there. The same thing I'm saying then is equivalent now. Whatever aura people think that Virgil ever had is definitely not there anymore. It is gone. It has left him. The game might have left him. Maybe that new contract is when the game left Virgil van Dijk. I don't know. But either way, he's an easy sell. Then we got James and Enzo. Now, I don't like Enzo Roulette. And I would admit that Enzo Fernandez, sorry, I'm now talking about Enzo. There's 2 Enzos I'm talking about. It's ridiculous. Enzo Fernandez is pretty immune to Maresca Roulette, but there are a lot of games coming up. And I would imagine that one of these easier games, might even be the Leeds game, he actually gets a rest. Because remember, he's had that fluid in the knee and he is managing it and he's probably not training 100%. So I've got that sneaky suspicion that one of those easier games Enzo might actually miss out on. And then Reece James, I've already seen it. Enzo Maresca will definitely rotate him to make sure he does not get injured. Because this is the time of the season where historically Reece James gets injured. So I think potentially we might see that. Now, others to consider, Mbumo, because he's obviously got AFCON coming up, is also in the firing line, along with Salah, along with Ndai. It's pretty soon. Like, you could actively make a case to be selling all of them now. And to be honest, Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes could easily be sells if Cunha is out for a substantial period of time. They're not going to do very well with Joshua Zirkzee in the team. He's literally like having a witch's hat, and I've talked about it enough this week that I wouldn't blame you if you sold him, because I can make a case to selling him myself. And then João Pedro, ditto for what I've said about Enzo and James. He is going to be the victim of Enzo Maresca roulette. So, yeah, I think easy sell, to be honest. Easy sell. And lastly, my top 5 players to buy in game week 13. And it is at number 1, my boy, Phil Foden. Yes, I've pre-warned everyone last week that the love for my boy is going to be through the roof. All we need now, after me bigging him up all week, is for me to have a dream that he scores 2 goals, I captain him, and absolutely smash it. That is the dream, folks. That is the dream. I think that he's just by far and away the best asset to buy this week. He's literally been racking up the 90 minutes. I know he hasn't been getting the attacking returns, which has been frustrating, but you just know Foden is too good to keep going like this without actually getting the return. So I think it's inevitable. It's going to happen, and it could well. And I think back to that 5 fixtures he had last season, and they screamed points on paper, and he delivered points. They scream points on paper again, and I reckon he goes bang, 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 bang. That's honestly what I think. I think he is the best asset to buy this week. Thiago comes in at a close second. If you don't have him, this makes perfect sense. In fact, I'll actually argue that Thiago and Welbeck, 2 really good transfers in this week. Like, they should both bang for the foreseeable future. They look really good on paper. They make a lot of sense. They free up a lot of money to spend in other areas of your squad in order to improve it. And those 2 are like the Wissa and Cunha with Haaland last year. Like, that's the kind of brilliance that these guys are performing at the moment. How long Welbeck can stay fit for, that is the only question, but he is a great buy. And for that reason, so is Minte. And you'll see here, I've also got Kevin Schade. So, Thiago and Schade are like the Wissa and Mbeumo of last year. It's just slightly different. I actually thought it might have been Dango and Thiago, but Dango's obviously going to go off to AFCON, so you can't be bringing him in, I don't think, for the long term. If you're on free hit, makes a lot of sense. But if you're looking longer term, Kevin Schade and Thiago, that's the classic 1-2. It's like the Mbeumo-Wissa combo. You've got the penalty taker, and you've got the bloke that obviously scores a few goals as well. And I think and they come in way cheaper than what Mbeumo and Wissa did last year, so I really like it. And then Welbeck and Minte are very similar. Yes, that combination is very dependent on Welbeck staying fit. But again, what do I like most about these 4 assets in particular? Not one of them is in Europe. They're not going to run into fixture congestion. They're not going to run out of legs. They should be really good assets throughout pretty much the entire season. And I think they'll continue to tick over. Like, these attacks are not weak attacks. Like, they're scoring goals. So I don't mind any of them. They are definitely my top 5 to buy. The other ones are unlucky to miss out. Dango, obviously, but it's more of a free hit pick than anything else. Munoz, I mean, he's on 4 yellows, so that does come into it, but he's also a great asset to buy. I mean, but most people have already got him. Lacroix as well. Mateus Nunes and O'Reilly, all really good defensive assets to buy, as well as Van den Berg, Cash and Rogers. I don't mind any of those moves this week. I think they're all really good, but those are definitely by far and away my top 5. Phil Foden, number 1. Thiago, Welbeck, Minte and Schade. I think they're all going to deliver points, folks, and I think you probably need a fair few of them in your team. I've now got 2. I'm actively thinking about whether I take a hit in order to get a third one in, and the third one this week is probably going to be, I don't know, is the honest answer. I'm toying up between Minte and Kevin Schade. It just depends on who I sell and how it looks, but they're definitely, it's possible to go. Ideally, I'd like all 5 of these players in my team over the coming weeks, and I think that's where potentially I might look to go. So that brings us to the end of my top transfer tips for game week 13. Let me know in the comments what kind of moves you are thinking, whether you're playing a chip, whether you're going anywhere near Liverpool assets, or you are sitting there just playing the fixture game. I think we've learnt this season that playing the fixtures doesn't always work. You've got to be picking the players that are in form, and I think that I've hopefully suggested 5 really good players to buy, 4 of them not in Europe. The other one with probably the easiest fixture run of the lot for the foreseeable future in my boy Phil Foden. I'll see you tomorrow very early on with team selection, because normally I put it out today, but I've been running behind this week. And tomorrow night, the Tom, the Timu Jesus, is joining us live on the Late Mail. So make sure you tune in for that. It'll be 4 p.m. UK time, same place. There may not be a Late Mail going into Game Week 14 because it's a midweek fixture, but we'll be live tomorrow, Friday. Lock it in, boys. We'll see you then. I've been FPL D-Unit. Have a good Thursday night. Enjoy the Europa Conference League and Europa League action this evening.